Hello everyone, so this is our report, Resistance to Change. What is resistance to change? Resistance to change is an unwillingness to adapt to new circumstances or ways of doing things. It can happen with individuals, relationships, or within organizations. There are many reasons for resistance, but at its heart, resistance is rooted in fear of the unknown. Resistance to change, yun yung mga taong takot mag-discover ng bago. Mga taong takot lumabas sa kanilang comfort zone kasi gusto nila magstay sa kung saan sila ngayon. And most of the people who resist change are less developed, reduced productivity, and low performance. Because when you press to change, you are asking someone to leave their comfort zone, enter the unknown, and expend their precious energy on something new. There are six common reasons for resistance to change. Resistance to change is common and can come in many forms. It can be subtle or overt, and it can be seen in both individuals or groups of people. Some examples might be missed meetings, sarcastic remarks, criticisms, nitpicking, or even sabotage. The good news is, no matter what forms it manifests, overcoming resistance to change is possible. However, organizations need to first understand the causes of resistance to more effectively address it. First is a lack of trust. One reason for resistance to change is a lack of trust in leadership team or the company as a whole. A lack of trust can have implications for turnover as well as employees giving leadership the benefit of the doubt when issues do arise. Employees who resist a change initiative are often responding more to the person in the leadership position rather than the change itself. This comes about if those in leadership positions have not yet earned the trust of the employees, like when there is a new leader within the organization. It can also come about as a result of previous experiences that have caused employees to distrust leadership. Distrust of the organization as a whole can also occur if employees feel the organization does not do as they say they will, changes too frequently, or employees generally don't feel valued. The most highly rated and financially successful companies are those that have the trust of their employees. Number two is poor communication. Lack of communication can greatly impact even the most well thought out and planned organizational changes. It is important to cultivate a culture of transparency whenever feasible and to share information as often as possible with employees, especially when trying to navigate a change. Without it, employees can become defensive, lack trust in leadership, and not have adequate time to process the information, which leads to further pushbacks. If employees are not given information in a timely manner, especially in the fast paced world of social media, misinformation and discontent can quickly spread through a workforce. We all know that communication is very important in the organization. If there is poor communication, then there will be misunderstanding that may lead to change resistance. Third is emotional response. Emotions are a part of any organization and those that are employed in them. Ignoring or avoiding emotions does not make them go away. In fact, they are sure to surface in other or often confusing or overwhelming ways if not addressed proactively. Common emotional responses to change are fear, uncertainty, and worry. Employees might not be able to articulate how they are feeling, or they may not want to say it to leadership, but we get a sense of more negative emotions may be seen through comments they make or nonverbal cues. These signs of resistance might include eye rolling or disengaging from conversations. People inside the organization have different kind of behaviors, and since they have different kind of emotions, if they ignore or avoid such emotions, employees may act negative emotions and show signs like eye rolling. Number 4. Fear of failure. Change can bring about a fear that it will be unsuccessful or that the individuals involved will personally fail as a result of the changes that were made. Employees often worry this will negatively impact their performance reviews, their job security, and even have implications for pay. In turn, this can lead to poorer outcomes at work in both output and the quality of the work being completed. Our minds are amazingly adaptive, but an individual's brain can have a hard time focusing if fear of failure is a concern. This is because while some parts of the brain are actively engaging with the new information, other parts of the mind are shutting down. Fear has both physical and mental implications. Sometimes people do not want changes because they fear of failure. They fear of unknown. In their minds, they are thinking, if I accept these changes, may it leads me into success? What if I fail? So, the what ifs are there. They will overthink until they decided to resist changes. Number 5. Surprises. Some people like to be surprised, but many do not, particularly when it comes to work. They want predictability, including the ability to schedule their time accordingly. There is a natural law that explains this called homeostasis. It is the concept that there is a drive to get to a neutral or stable place. Implementing change can disrupt this potential homeostasis, causing alarm bells to go off. Surprise may be one of the reasons to resistance to change, since the changes has not been well planned and agreed by the people inside the organizations. And most employees have families and responsibilities outside of work that they have to manage in addition to their jobs. So, it's better to resist changes. Last, constant change. Organizations can sometimes overlook the need to space multiple changes out. If you are constantly changing programs, leaderships, or systems, employees are less likely to fully adapt to and accept future change. Furthermore, in a study that looked at change management in organizations, employees who were going through changes currently or within the previous year were more likely to feel stressed out, have less trust in their senior leaders, planned to find new jobs, and reported more health concerns. Timing of changes is important in order to minimize resistance to them. To the second part, there are 6 tips to minimize resistance to change. Now that we have looked at some of the reasons people resist change, let's dive into some of the ways to overcome resistance to change and how to implement change successfully. First, communicate early and often. Let employees know about changes to the status quo as soon as possible. Do you have an employee that others gravitate to, or whose opinion seems to carry more weight with their colleagues? Get buy in from them and help them lead the changes you are hoping for. This helps to build a bridge between employees and management. Involving key stakeholders as part of the change, especially those that are trusted by colleagues, can help others adapt more readily. Share whatever information you have with employees that you are free to share. If you are not sure of an answer or cannot answer, it is okay to state that. You can say something like, I don't have that information, or I have to look into that, or even, as soon as I can share that information with you, I will. When there is lack of communication, people tend to fill the void with speculation. The more open and honest in your communication with them, the less likely this is to happen. As I said, communication is very important in the organization. If they communicate early and often, they can avoid conflict and they won't resist the changes may happen inside the organization. Second, listen to employees. Listen to employees' concerns, as there is a good chance that they are more in tune with plans' potential blind spots given their day to day work. This also lets them know their opinions are valued by the company. While you do not have to incorporate all their ideas, listening will help you identify what sources of resistance are coming up and address the root causes. Every people has different kind of thoughts and ideas. Inside the organization, they must listen to employees' idea to have a better plan and to discuss furtherly. If they listen to each and everyone, it can lead into accepting and agreed changes may happen. Number 3. Educate employees on the value of the change. Organizations are generally trying to make things better, not worse for the employees. Perhaps the old way of doing things presented a potential safety issue, was ineffective or inefficient. Building a case for why change is necessary can help employees adapt to it more readily, even in cases where they may not like it. Sometimes changes can improve and develop one's organization. It can be productive and lead into high performances. So before an employee can resist to change, they must know the value of the change. Number 4, name emotions. When we name emotions, we move the emotional response from an internal stage, which is harder to address, to something outside the individual. Once feelings are out in the open, they can be worked through. In the case of organizational change, naming the fear, frustration, or anxiety that may be present can help employees work through them faster. Try saying something like, I'm noticing there might be something anxiety or concern about this change, to help open up the conversation. This gives permission to employees to also name their feelings about the change, which ultimately helps to give those emotions less power to affect them. Number 5. Timing is everything. Things are always constantly changing and evolving with the passing of time. That said, within an organization, the timing of change can be important. Isn't always possible, but sometimes it is best for organizations to methodically introduce change and wait until that has stabilized before introducing further change. Even companies that are good at change sometimes need a pause. Aside communication, timing is also very important when they offer changes because time matters the most to be successful. Through good timing, changes can be acceptable, especially when these changes can help the organization improve and develop, and not just organization but also the people inside the organization. Lastly, provide ongoing support. Once a change has been made, make sure to follow up with employees as those changes roll out. Let them know that they continue to be important partners in making effective changes that will stand the test of time. Provide training for any new skills needed to make the change successful. If the organization wants changes, they must train and guide the employees to make the change successful. So support them time to time so that they can be motivated to work hard to be successful.